Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Winged Dragon of Ra deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck summons out one of the 3 Egyptian god cards to be able to OTK your opponent with a massive boss monster, which is so cool to be able to do. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like in your name, description, every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Winged Dragon of Ra. This card is an amazing boss monster and one of the 3 Egyptian god cards. This card has a really cool ability that it cannot be special summoned and requires 3 tributes to be normal summoned and cannot be normal set. This card's normal summon cannot be negated, and when this card is normal summoned, other cards and effects cannot be activated. And when this card is normal summoned, you can pay life points so you only have 100 left, and this card gains attack and defense equal to the amount of life points paid. You can also pay 1,000 life points to be able to target a monster on the field and destroy that target, which is a crazy powerful effect. But usually when you summon out this card, you're going to be paying to 100 life points left and making this card come out at 7,900 to OTK your opponent. We then play 3 copies of the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere Mode. Sphere Mode is amazing as a 3-of in the build because this card helps out so much in the deck to basically just use this card to tribute over 3 of our opponent's monsters and give this card to our opponent. It also has the ability that then you shift control of this card back to its owner during the end phase of the next turn, so we can turn this card into the Winged Dragon of Ra. Because this card is just so easy to do that with, because you tribute this card and then special summon the Winged Dragon of Ra from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, and if you do, its attack and defense become 4,000, which is crazy powerful. We then play a single copy of the Winged Dragon of Ra Immortal Phoenix. Immortal Phoenix is really good in this deck, but you only need a single copy of this card because it's a little bit of a brick, but you want to be able to turn your copy of the Winged Dragon of Ra into its Immortal Phoenix form. This card is amazing in the deck and completes the life cycle of the Winged Dragon of Ra, going from the Sphere Mode into the Winged Dragon of Ra, back into your copy of Immortal Phoenix, and then turning back into Sphere Mode, which is just so cool about these cards. We then play 3 copies of Guardian Slime. Guardian Slime is really good as a 3-of in the build because this card has the ability, if you take battle or effect damage, then you can special summon this card in your hand, and during damage calculation, if this card battled an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can make this card gain defense equal to that opponent's monster's attack during that damage calculation only. And if this card is sent from the hand or field to the grave, you can add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the card, the Winged Dragon of Ra, in its text, which is great to be able to use this card to search cards from the deck. We then play 3 copies of Ra's Disciple. Ra's Disciple is really good as a 3-of in the build because when this card is summoned, you can special summon up to 2 more copies of Ra's Disciple from your hand or deck, which is a really cool effect just to get you 3 monsters on your side of the field so that you can tribute them all and summon out the Winged Dragon of Ra. We then play 3 copies of Reactor Slime. Reactor Slime is great in this deck as a 3-of because this card has the ability, during your main phase, you can activate this effect to special summon out 2 slime tokens that are Aqua, Water, level 1, 500 attack and 500 defense. Also, you cannot normal summon or special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Divine Beast monsters, meaning the Winged Dragon of Ra. And during the battle phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card to set a Metal Reflect Slime from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and it can be activated this turn, which is great to be able to activate your copy of Metal Reflect Slime so you can turn it into Egyptian God Slime so you can tribute it and summon out the Winged Dragon of Ra. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Monster Reborn. This card is actually searchable in the deck and goes along with the Winged Dragon of Ra archetype, which is amazing, and it's a really cool 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Millennium Revelation. This card is really good to be able to go with our copy of Monster Reborn because it lets us send a Divine Beast monster from our hand to the graveyard to add Monster Reborn from our deck or graveyard to our hand. You can also send this face-up card to the the graveyard, and this turn you can special summon the Winged Dragon of Ra from your graveyard with Monster Reborn, ignoring its summoning conditions. And during the end phase of this turn, this effect was activated. You must send the Winged Dragon of Ra you control back to the graveyard that was summoned by Monster Reborn, which is not that big of a deal, but it's still really insane that you can actually summon the Winged Dragon of Ra using Monster Reborn, just like Merrick did, which is crazy. We then play a single copy of Blaze Cannon. Blaze Cannon's really good to be able to play in this deck because this card gives Ra all sorts of crazy powerful effects because you can only activate this card when you control the Winged Dragon of Ra, and it gives Ra all of these cool abilities that this card is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. When an attack is declared involving this card, you can tribute any number of other monsters that did not declare an attack this turn, and your copy of the Winged Dragon of Ra gains attack equal to attributed monsters combined original attack until the end of the turn. And after damage calculation, if this card attacked, you can send all monsters that your opponent controls to the graveyard, which means after Ra attacks, it's going to send all of your opponent's monsters to the grave, which is super cool. We then play 2 copies of Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is great in the deck as a 2-of just to deal with your opponent's back row or their monsters so you can swing in with Ra for game. We then play 3 copies of Time Tearing Morganite. Time Tearing Morganite is really good in the deck, and this card is amazing in this build because this card has the ability that for the rest of the duel, you apply the following effects: that you cannot activate monster effects in the hand, draw 2 cards instead of 1 for your normal draw during your draw phase, and you can conduct 2 normal summons or set, not just 1, which is really cool about this card. The only downside to this card is once you activate this card, it does turn 1 card off in the deck, unfortunately, which is going to be your copy of Guardian Slime, but Guardian Slime is still worth playing in the build. Just in case you do take damage, you can summon this card before you activate Time Tearing Morganite, but it's still really good in the deck to be able to use. I love that about this card, and it's just such a cool 3-of in this build to give you that additional normal summon, because it's so important to be able to normal summon out your copy of Ra. Because you might open up a copy of Ra and say Reactor Slime. Reactor Slime will give you your 2 tokens on your side of the field. You activate Time Tearing Morganite, and then you contribute all 3 to summon out your copy of Ra, instantly giving you Ra on the side of the field. So this card just gives you that additional normal summon, which is really cool. And the extra draw is also really good in this deck. But this card is definitely a 3-of in this build, and I really like it in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Ancient Chant. Ancient Chant is great as a 3-of because this card lets you add the Winged Dragon of Ra from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and if you do, you contribute summon 1 monster during your main phase this turn in addition to your normal summoner set, which is a really cool ability for this card to have. You can also banish this card from your graveyard, and if you tribute summon the Winged Dragon of Ra this turn, its original attack and defense becomes the original attack and defense of the monsters tributed for its summon, which is a really cool ability. We then play 3 copies of the True Sun God. The True Sun God is insane in this deck. This card has the ability to, when it's activated, you can add the Winged Dragon of Ra or any card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, except a copy of the True Sun God. And monsters cannot attack except the Winged Dragon of Ra the turn they are special summoned. And once per turn, during the main phase, you can actually send this card from your field or the Winged Dragon of Ra Immortal Phoenix from your deck to the graveyard to be able to send the Winged Dragon of Ra from your monster zone to the graveyard to make your copy of Immortal Phoenix go off so you can summon Immortal Phoenix to your side of the field, which is really cool. We then play 3 copies of Soul Crossing. Soul Crossing is great because it lets you tribute 3 of your opponent's monsters to be able to summon out an Egyptian God card, making it a definite 3-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Polymerization is great to break your opponent's board. Since we are playing Time Tearing Morganite, we can't play hand traps in this build outside of something like a Guardian Slime, which is just a 3-of in the build. But this card is really good in the deck overall to be able to use, to be able to just deal with your opponent's field and break their board. We then play 3 copies of Forbidden Droplets. Forbidden Droplets is great to be able to use in this deck to be able to send cards to the graveyard so that you can basically turn your opponent's field off and go in for game. And it helps out a lot in this deck overall to be able to use this card to drop your opponent's monsters down by half, and it also just turns their field off so you can OTK. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing a single trap, and that's going to be one copy of Metal Reflect Slime. Metal Reflect Slime is really good in the deck as a one-of, because this card special summons itself to your side of the field as an Aqua type water, level 10, 0 attack, and 3000 defense, so that you can turn this card into your copy of your Egyptian God Slime, which is really cool to be able to just instantly put your copy of Egyptian God Slime on your side of the field with this card, and it's just so cool to be able to play in the deck. But since we play our copy of our Reactor Slime, I just play this card as a one-of in the build. You can change out the Guardian Slimes for more copies of this if you want to, and that is an option for you guys if you want to do that, since we are playing Time Tearing Morganite. But I did find that the copies of Guardian Slime do come in handy for other reasons, which is why I ended up just playing 1 and 3 in the build. So that's going to do it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with Egyptian God Slime. This card is a really good 2-of in the deck that has a crazy powerful effect that it must either be Fusion Summon or Special Summon, which you're always going to Special Summon it from your extra deck by attributing one level 10 Aqua monster with 0 attack. And this card can be treated as 1 to 3 tributes for a tribute summon of a monster, and it cannot be destroyed battle, and your opponent cannot target monsters for attacks except this card, which is a really cool effect to be able to use with this card's ability. And I love this card in the deck to be able to play because it's just such an awesome boss monster overall to help you summon out your copy of Ra. We then play a single copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Starving Venom Fusion Dragon is really good in the deck to be able to use as a super poly target. We then play a single copy of Garua. Garua is also really good to be able to use as a super poly target. One copy of Mud Dragon. Mud Dragon is awesome in this deck as a super poly target. And these are our main cards we're going to be using to break our opponent's board with our copy of Super Polymerization. We then play a single copy of number 35. Number 35 is really good since we are paying a lot of life points in this deck. You can make this card to make your monsters even bigger because it has the ability that all monsters you control gain attack and defense equal to the difference between your life points and your opponent's life points, which is a really insane ability, especially since we pay down to 100 life points in this deck. We then play a single copy of Gustav Max. Gustav Max is great to do 2,000 points of burn damage to your opponent to close out games. We then play a single copy of Juggernaut Leap. Juggernaut Leap is just an awesome OTK machine that we can make in the deck. We then play a single copy of AA Zeus. AA Zeus is awesome to be able to board wipe your opponent. One copy of Typhon. I feel like this card belongs in just about any deck that can make it, and any deck can make this card, so it belongs in just about any deck. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is awesome in the deck to be able to just pop cards on the field. It comes out absolutely massive. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff. One copy of IP Masquerena to make our copy of Unicorn during the opponent's turn. One copy of Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep is really good in the deck to be able to make because you can make your copy of Egyptian God Slime and you can make your copies of your super poly targets. And then this card can go off to bring back a monster from the graveyard, which will help you link climb, which is really nice. And then finally, a single copy of Alamirage, just in case you need it. I still feel like this card is a great one-of in the build and helps out a lot in the deck overall. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Winged Dragon of Ra deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's wild how powerful this deck is. Being able to just OTK your opponent with Ra is really cool to be able to do, and it's such a cool card, being one of the 3 Egyptian God cards. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.